Here, I'm Dr. Jessica Bogunovich. I am the program chair of the multiple and single subject credentialing programs and the MAT program here at UMass Global. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about actionable feedback, what that looks like in practice, and how you can use it beyond just your CalTPAs. So let's go ahead and dig right in. Actionable in the moment feedback is something that's required for your CalTPAs on many of the rubrics for cycle 1, cycle 2 in the multiple subject CalTPAs, in your ed specialist CalTPAs, and single subject CalTPAs. So I'm just going to broadly go over what actionable feedback is, what it looks like in practice, and how you can word it on your CalTPAs to be successful. So according to the CalTPA glossary, feedback is information given to students about their performance that guides future behavior. Feedback can tell students what is going well, what they are or are not understanding, and how they can advance learning, improve, or revise their work. So, according to CTC, this is what they believe feedback to be. So, this is you um, taking their words and making it, or you translating it and making it part of your CalTPAs and your practice while you're completing your CalTPAs. So there are various types of feedback. And in education, when teaching and learning is involved, there's 5 main types or most used types of feedback. We have descriptive, actionable in the moment, formative, reflective, and affirming. Descriptive is where the teacher explains what the student did, what they're currently understanding, and what the next step should be. And you're doing this without grades or judgment being passed. Actionable in the moment feedback is where you offer students specific guidance that they can immediately apply to improve their performance or their understanding. So, again, that's why it's called in the moment. Formative is provided during their learning process to help teachers adjust their own instruction and help students refine their own understanding before they're given that final assessment. Reflective is where the feedback prompts students to think about their learning and encourage that deeper level of thinking and metacognition. And then you have that affirming, which really boosts students' self-confidence. It encourages them to stay engaged, keep them motivated, and just help them move forward with that positive mindset. For the purpose of this presentation and for your CalTPAs, the focus is on this yellow section here, actionable in the moment feedback. So we're going to just take a look at different types of actionable feedback. And on each slide, the heading has a type of actionable feedback, what some strategies are for you implementing that, some examples of what that looks like, and then alignment to the rubric, and how it directly relates to the CalTPA rubrics. So feedback that responds to observed student, whoops, sorry about that, thinking. So the strategies for you would be base feedback on what the student is doing right now. Name the strategy or misconception you observe. Provide a next step the student can immediately try. So this would be taking place during your videos or during your commentary in the CalTPAs. Examples you might use. I see you subtracted because the number got smaller. Let's reread the problem and decide whether it's asking how many are left or how many more there are. Another type of example for this actionable feedback would be you use the number line correctly, but your jumps aren't equal. Try spacing them evenly and then recount. As you can see, both types of these feedbacks or examples give the student something that they can actually go back and apply to correct themselves. The feedback is specific, timely, and connected to evidence of learning. The rubric alignment is monitor student thinking, providing feedback to support learning. All right, the next type, feedback that guides without giving the answers. You can use prompting questions instead of correction, encourage students to revise their thinking, maintain productive struggle. So this might look like, hey, what might happen if you tried drawing a model here? Or, hey, how could you check whether the strategy works with smaller numbers? This helps students remain cognitively engaged and responsible for their learning. It also helps them, you know, guide their own learning instead of you just giving them the answers. It makes them think deeper, prompts them to readjust their own thinking patterns, try different strategies, and come to their own conclusions. And the rubric alignment is engaging students in learning. Next, we have feedback that connects to the learning goals. Explicitly link feedback to the lesson objectives or outcomes, or again, your learning goals, and reinforce why the strategy matters. Some examples might be our goal today is to explain our thinking. Can you add one sentence to show how you got your answer? Or since we're focusing on place value, let's revisit how the tens and ones are working in your model. A lot of these examples are focused on math because the actionable and in the moment feedback is mostly found on the rubrics for math cycle. Math cycle 1 for multiple subjects, so a lot of the examples are geared towards that. This is feedback that reinforces purposeful instruction and isn't just isolated for correction. And the rubric alignment is for understanding students and equity and access. Next, we have that feedback to support academic language development. And this is really especially important for your focus student 1. Provide sentence frames or vocabulary support, encourage oral and visual explanations, not just written. Accept approximations and refine them. Some examples might be you point it to the model. Now let's put that into words together. So you're working together with your student to help them build that confidence and trust so that they become more, I guess, just aware of their own capabilities so that they can not only just trust you, but they can trust themselves in the learning process. And that's a great idea. Let's use the word multiply instead of times it. So here you're redirecting their thinking by using a specific vocabulary word so that they're using that academic language that they're supposed to be using, even though that times is, an acceptable synonym, you're redirecting them to use the appropriate word here. So feedback supports academic language development within math instruction, and it isn't separate from it, but it's used with it. And then the rubric alignment is understanding students and again, equity and access. Feedback that adjusts instruction in the moment. Use patterns you notice to respond immediately. That's important. You don't want to respond after the fact uh, to adjust. You want to do it right when you see something going on and wrong so that the student can also make those adjustments. Pause, remodel, or clarify as needed. Some examples. I'm noticing several people are stuck on the first step. Let's stop and look at another example together. So obviously that's for the whole class instruction and feedback. If you look at your answer, if your answer is larger than the numbers you started with, check whether that makes sense for this problem. So that's a guided question for a specific student or maybe a small group of students. That shows responsive teaching, and it's not rigid lesson delivery. And the rubric alignment here is monitoring student learning and instructional responsiveness. Feedback that affirms effort, moving learning forward. So here you're pairing encouragement with a clear instructional next step or steps, and you're avoiding a vague praise alone. So, for example, you kept trying that challenging problem. That matters. Now try labeling your model so others can follow your thinking. So you're telling them what they did well, but now you're moving them forward so that they can enhance their learning or to um, or get them back on path, what they should be doing. But you're still, applauding them for their efforts. I like how you tried a new strategy. Let's refine it by checking each step. So again, same thing, you're redirecting. This balances their emotional safety with academic rigor. That's also important for the rubrics that have to do with creating a safe emotional environment. And then the rubric alignment here is equity and access and engaging students. And then we have feedback that allows students to act immediately. This could be through revising work, trying a new strategy, and explaining thinking again. Some examples for that is before you move on, go back and fix the second step and then resolve. So you're giving them a specific step that they have to fix and then something they have to do before they can go on. Turn to your partner and explain your answer and why it makes sense. So again, you're giving them something that they need to do to show their learning. So this is something that specific that they're doing, to explain, to show their understanding. Feedback is clearly actionable and not just informationable. And the rubric alignment is providing feedback to support learning. So this last slide here is candidate sentence frames for success. These are some sentence frames that you can use that the assessors would look for and know that you're talking about actionable in the moment feedback in your commentary. So for example, after noticing that the student was doing um, was adding incorrectly, I provided immediate feedback by showing them a different problem. The student then used their, I don't know, counting blocks, which supported their understanding of adding two numbers. Whatever it is, it just helps you and guides your thinking. And it also sets you up for success because it's showing right here that you're providing your students that actionable feedback in the moment feedback, that you did something right then and there that students could apply to help their instruction and their learning. to help their understanding and that you adjusted your instruction while the learning was taking place instead of after the fact. I gave actionable feedback by naming the student's strategy and prompting them to whatever it is. This feedback helped the student adjust their thinking in real time. As you can see, there's several other ones that you could use to help you as well. These are not things that you have to do by any means. It's just a little support to get you thinking, or, some sentence frames if you get stuck. Um, it just gives you some ideas on what maybe they're looking for in the CalTPAs related to actionable feedback. All right, that wraps up the examples, the best practices on actionable in the moment feedback. I just wanted to end with this. Effective feedback, especially actionable in the moment, is intentional, immediate, and based on observed student thinking. So it's not something that takes place after because you're observing it right then. It doesn't take place after because it's immediate. And it doesn't take place after because it's intentional. Something that you're watching take place right then and you're targeting. All right. Teachers are expected to monitor students during instruction and provide specific, actionable feedback that helps students address their strategies and understanding during the lesson. Strong feedback is directly connected to the learning goals that you have created for your lesson or lessons for your CalTPAs. It helps maintain student engagement and allows students to apply that feedback immediately. Rather than giving students the corrective feedback, giving them the answers, the feedback for actionable feedback guides their thinking and supports that access and equity, and also moves that learning forward. So all of these things are what scores are looking for across multiple rubric areas for that, or areas for evidence. So I really hope this gives you guys some ideas on what actionable in the moment feedback is. I hope you can apply some of this in your videos and in your commentary for your CalTPAs, and also in practice in your teaching. If you have any questions, reach out to boganovich@umassglobal.edu or to CalTPA remediation at umassglobal.edu. This will be posted on our YouTube channel, which we will get out to students as soon as we get that up and going. Thank you.